section. Volley by the 53. Fired by Reverend Caldwell.
And 50% illustration. You don't really know because of things like that.
I think that's pretty good for 30 years worth of use.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Buddy.
3?
No, yeah, 3. 200.
I know. Look
No,
at
you need 300 to start scoring, so you're still 0.
Okay. 0.
1. Oh, 700. I got 3 6s and a 1. So I'm gonna take it.
Member of the 5th Connecticut private show. Joined about a year and a half ago, and actually just made this as my regimental. I finished it last night. So my fiance and I were working on this, getting the last of the trim and the buttons in, finished the pockets and this trim on the tails here. So just finished that. A few weeks ago we made the waistcoat, sewed the buttons on and all that ourselves as well. Yeah, just a few things. Little pewter mug. This is a kind of just a kitchen kit. Tied here. So, spoon, most useful. A lot of what we eat is stews. A little bone handle knife. Wire fork, very cheap and easy. Most forks were 2-tined instead of 3 that you'd see today. And then soldiers were required to be clean shaven, so also have a razor in here. It's kind of a little personal hygiene kit, essentially.
I'm asking why you have brown and he's got green.
Why? Because these guys are loyalists and I'm a colonist. Colonial.
Oh, you're colonists.
Yeah, I am. I'm from the 5th New York Regiment. I'm here spying. They don't know it.
Oh.
It's all mixed in.
But at least you didn't come.
Each group was known for the way the colors of their jackets. Like my brown face blue, and if you look at my buttons, if you'll see too, look at my buttons. See the NY?
Yeah.
You know, that's the emblem of the Mets and the Yankees.
Yeah.
They put that emblem on their hats for, you know, respect for the Revolutionary War soldiers. A lot of people don't know that. This was caught off of an original button found in New York at the Fort Montgomery that we cast the same exact examples. They're reproductions now, but yeah. So that's how we know. Very smart people back then. My guys are from the 5th New York. They were stationed on the Hudson River where the chain went across the river to stop the advance of the British. We were garrisoned, so that means we were very, very well supplied. We had a bunkhouse to sleep in, we had quarters, You know, we ate pretty decent.
And
You know,
if you could make stuff, it was
Yeah.
worth making furniture and things because you were going to stay there.
right?
I've heard somebody say we're new.
It was easier when my eyes were younger.
I know the feeling. So the soldiers were responsible of sewing their own clothing.
Oh, that's correct. And they had a soft cap that they wore around camp that was made out of scraps taken from their old coats. So when they got issued new coats, they would take the old coats and chop them up and make them into these camp hats. It's whatever their skill and ability allowed them to create is what they created.
First time I went to try this thing, they said.
One of these days, this girl is gonna make money. Yeah. And until that time, she better learn how to cook.
Hey! A woman's work is never done, sir, even on a day of battle.
Women were part of the American Revolution. We were what's known as a necessary evil, General Washington called us, because our husbands wouldn't go off to fight for Washington and leave us behind. The loyalists, those who were still loyal to the king, would burn us out of our homes. The British would burn us out of the homes. They really wreaked havoc up here in New Jersey. So we followed along. We got half rations and half wages, but we had to work. We had to be with a husband or our father or someone who would be responsible for us. And we were known as camp followers. On the American side, that had much better connotations than I think on the British side. Though the British had a lottery, so they were able to bring over some of their wives, and the same with the Hessians, the Germans. But for us, we couldn't ride in the baggage carts. We had to walk, so we were at the tail end. So when they were going off, the tents would be packed up and on the baggage carts, and we would march behind.
There are functional aprons and there are decorative aprons. This is obviously a decorative apron. I would not be working around the campfire in this. I would not be a camp follower. I would more likely be a townsperson. A little more upscale.
I'm making tapes. In the 18th century, we used tapes to carry things like our jugs, tie our clothing closed. We tie our stays, tie our garters on our stockings. This is a petticoat, which has a matching tape made to go with the petticoat. This is a box loom, which is a form of weaving. Once I have the threads all set up in the pattern that I want, and it's a simple motion of up, across, down, across. And once I get started, it takes me about an hour to make a 4 or 5 foot long tape. Very easy. And that's basically all there is to it. Come back in an hour, I should be finished.
Sorry. And I'm going to put this away. This is just a canteen, and I do a horrible talk with this. Do you want a horrible talk?
Let's get the horrible talk.
This is the 8-year-old
I
talk.
love bad stuff.
Okay, every 8-year-old that I see at the site I go to, they always like this talk, so I'll give it. In the time period, the soldiers who are running around all need water, right here. Most common way to die in the time period, and all the way up until World War I, if you're in a war, is from dysentery. So I talked to the kids about the fact that you will take this. I'll just do the talk. So how many of you kids would take this canteen, run down there, fill it up with water, and take a drink? And I generally get a couple of them who want to do that. And then I say, okay, what happens to you in 4 hours? And then they look at me and they think for a minute, they're like, I get sick. Like, yep, you get sick. What kind of sick? Coughing, sneezing, they turn all kinds of colors. Some of them just shout it out. They vomit and they have explosive diarrhea. And this happens for days on end. Now it will last up to 3 months. You'll see certain cases of it happening up to 3 months where they're sick like this for 3 months. We're talking about a time period where there is no toilet paper and no flushy toilet. Not fun when you're 8 years old to be stuck in that situation, or any age when you're stuck in that situation. So what Washington and others and our Army and other armies do is they're issued a little bit of rum or a little bit of whiskey to put into their water regularly so that the water does not make them sick. They don't know why it doesn't make them sick, they just know it works. So that is how and why we are getting issued the whiskey ration or the rum ration, is to pour it into the water regularly and not get ill.
Welcome all to divine service this morning. Given the vicissitudes and trials of days past, divine service is probably even more needed and wanted. So we are a gathering place for those who may wish to pour out their grief, pour out their sadness, pour out their pain and their anger. Our town lies in ashes, rather like the abode of Job. And some, as were the friends of Job, would say, why not give up, curse God, and die? But we shall not do so. We shall rise up, and it is my duty as chaplain to this brigade to share some thoughts this morning. O great and mighty Jehovah, may we in our ways reconcile ourselves to Thee, make ourselves whole in Thee, make ourselves worthy of Thee. Give ear unto our prayers, O Lord, both spoken and silent. Give us strength that we may at length come into light, liberty, and salvation. Amen.
Amen.
Let God arise and then his foes.
Let God arise and then his foes
will put themselves to flight.
Will put themselves to flight.
His enemies for fear shall run.
His enemies for fear shall run.
And scatter out of sight.
And scatter out of sight.
As the fire doth melt the wax.
As the fire doth melt the wax.
And wind blows smoke away.
And wind blows smoke away.
In the presence of the Lord.
In the presence of the Lord.
The wicked shall decay.
The wicked shall decay.
Unrighteous men before the Lord.
Unrighteous men before the Lord.
Shall heartily rejoice.
Shall heartily rejoice.
They shall be glad and merry all.
Shall be glad and merry all.
And sing with cheerful voice.
And sing with cheerful voice.
Sing praise unto the Lord.
Sing praise unto the Lord.
Who rideth on the skies.
Who rideth on the skies.
Extol the great Jehovah's name.
Extol the great Jehovah's name.
And still him magnify.
And still him magnify.
Amen.
Amen.
We did. It was not easy.
And so we would have to
Yeah, that's perfect. Because we're going to have rosemary. You see what's in it?
Yes.
Chicken, potatoes,
carrots, celery, onions.
I was fortunate enough to be able to find a ham to serve to the men today. And we have some homemade bread. And we were able to get some apples too.
What can I do?
Keep it coming.
If I do any more, they're gonna arrest me.
Bread. I like bread.
I like bread. Bread. I like bread. Bread's oh my phone's on.
You like bread? I like bread.
Yo!
Is there another knife somewhere?
Bread.
Thank you.
Berries.
Yeah, I guess at this
Fruit,
point,
nectarines, boiled eggs. I have a 14 right now. I didn't know you needed the printed list out. I can do that right now.
wow.
And that's about what I paid for a dozen.
An 18th century bassoon. In addition to the bassoon, I also play the serpent, which is the 18th century ancestor of the tuba. Order your firelocks! Good day, sir. We have come to collect the king's taxes.
What regiment are you with?
We are with the 2nd Regiment of His Majesty's Marines.
I'm not. I am a sutler licensed to another regiment, sir, and unfortunately, I pay to that regiment. Unless a sutler is always licensed to
You
a
needn't
specific
call me
regiment.
sir. I am sergeant. I have been tasked with coming here.
Sir, you're so fair of face, I cannot believe that you're not as an officer.
Your compliments are appreciated, but they will not affect my desire to do my duty. I have been sent here to collect a tax, and a tax I shall collect.
Well, sir, I would refer you to the officer in charge of the, what's the regiment over here that I'm with?
3rd New Jersey.
The 3rd New Jersey Regiment, because
3rd New Jersey? They're a rebellious regiment, sir. If you may pay us in specie, or we may take goods of equivalent value to be used by our troops.
Give him a beer.
No beer, rum.
Oh yeah, rum.
Sir, if you could come back in a little, a bit later when all of this odd-dressed people aren't around, we could see about doing that. Unfortunately, as long as these people are here, it is a bit of a difficulty.
If you have rum for my men, we may wait.
Very good, sir. And not only that, sir, I believe I can find some West Indian rum and not locally made.
Men, shoulder your firelocks. Right about face and dismiss. Gentlemen, come to this tavern. The tavern keeper would like to pay tribute to His Majesty by buying you all a large dram of rum.
Hello, sir.
You may unfix bayonets too at your leisure.
Are we accepting bribes now?
Certainly not a bribe, but a donation.
Why is it important to keep it alive?
Well, the past is prologue. If you don't have the past, then you won't have the future. Because it's important to know where you came from and what we did to protect the colonies from the abhorrent Great Britain and their massive tax against the colonies. So there was a lot of people who were patriots, and they brought up the cause, and they stood their ground. And just like everyone who stands their ground, eventually victory is won.
Well, just to add to what he said, you certainly want to learn from your past. You don't want to make the same mistakes. It's important to realize that sometimes you have to defend your liberties. The world is a big, bad place out there, and people have to understand that sometimes you have to stand up against tyranny and fight for what you believe in. So I think it's important that people look back at their history and understand that the United States of America was once an occupied country by a British army, a foreign army. So it's important to recall that and remember that and try and learn how these people lived so it doesn't happen again. So I think that's fine. How do you like that?
See, that was a half clock. Whenever we load it and everything, that's a half clock. That's another thing they check for whenever we do a safety check.
Don't go
the
off
half
that
clock.
That's where that.
Yeah, we'll put it in
term
half
comes
clock
from,
and they'll
right?
try and pull a trigger, and it shouldn't go off. But now, okay, so we put powder in there, put powder down there. Now we go to full clock, and then now like I say, there's powder in there, and you see the touch hole right there.
Yep.
That goes through the inside. So whenever we shoot this, it sparks and it knocks it open.
Yeah, okay.
The spark goes down there and lights that. Boom. So that's the way a flintlock works.
Cool.
Hey again, how are you?
Yeah.
Select there. I think we shall, sir. Charge your bayonets!
Does look better.
Take this man in irons!
When you're saying take aim, as the front row, we step aside.
Order. Firelock.
More. Arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Level.
That the British have on the field today, commanded by Brevet Colonel John Hager from 22nd Regiment of Foot, Brigadier could speed reload, professional soldiers could get off 4 shots a minute. When you load it, you then have to pour the powder down the barrel, put the ball down on the enemy. It became 15 seconds later, there'd be another fire. And 15 seconds later, another fire. I can see by the smoke that they started to burn Springfield. You turned a regiment of 600 men in a regiment, rights that had been taken away by their Whig. That uniform was enhanced by the Marquis de Lafayette, who will go on to command them in 1781 at Yorktown, would conduct a retrograde action. In this case, trying to retire back to Elizabethtown and the pontoon bridge that across the Kilvan Cull to Staten Island. Donald Haggis, the 22nd Regiment of Foot. As the Crown troops fall back and their buttons and their lace indicate the different regiments. We have members of the British Marines. They didn't become royal until many years later. The Marines are here. 4th Regiment of got the Queens Rangers, the 4th New Jersey Volunteers. A worm scrapes out all the debris at the bottom of the barrel. The second member rams down a wet sponge to put out any sparks so there won't be an explosion. We actually sponged the guns twice before we reload. Then they advanced another charge and ran it home down the barrel, flying the vent. How fast can you reload versus how fast can you run a 50-yard dash? When you think about it back in gym class, how fast can you go 50-yard dash? AC retreat. And they are going to like they're going to make it safely back to Staten Island. Connecticut Regiment, Colonel True of the 5th Connecticut Regiment. Continental soldier. And we just Cannonball House. These visit our food vendor, who has come here in Iraq and Afghanistan, American Revolution, long years. Springfield was a key building block at Yorktown.
Police to the right! Elevate!
When the troops, they will reorganize, they will water down. Hit! 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 Hit!
Second company! Hold! All in behind the first company.
Well, the Battle of Springfield is very important in the history of the country, and it deserves to be remembered because it was really a turning point in the Revolutionary War. If the Battle of Springfield had been lost, that would have been the end of the war, and the Crown forces would have prevailed. So the combination of the militia forces and the regular army defeated the 1,500 American militia and regular army defeated the 5,000 British and Hessian troops. So they made it as far. The group that went up through the Milburn, what we now call Milburn area, only got about as far as the Milburn Town Hall when they were forced to retreat. So that battle forced the British to recognize that they were not going to be supported by the Loyalist troops, that they were not going to conquer New Jersey They withdrew. It was the last battle in the northern colonies, and the war moved south. So if, as I said before, if we had lost that battle, the British had conquered New Jersey, we would have been subjects of the crown today.
The township's actual anniversary was April 14th, 2019. We decided the weather would be better in June of 2019 than in April, and we would have our reenactment, our celebration, in conjunction with the anniversary of the Battle of Springfield, which is June 23rd, 1780. 2019 was the 239th anniversary of the Battle of Springfield. So we had people out there Friday afternoon to Friday evening, Saturday morning starting at 7 a.m. We went till 11 o'clock Saturday night, and we were back there Sunday. And then Monday, even a little bit of cleanup. We have light towers we had to put in place to light the event. The fire department brings their fire trucks out. So a lot of apparatus, a lot of moving of equipment, but it was a great weekend. I don't think there were any incidents. I think everybody had a good time. And the most important thing was the weather was good, because the one thing we can't control is the weather. And emergency management has run the fireworks in town for over 40 years, and the one thing that we have no control over is if it's going to rain.
History to me, growing up as a kid, not necessarily the most exciting subject in school. However, when I began working here as a police officer 30 plus years back, I got to experience some of the town, like part of my walking beat as a young cop. We have several cemeteries in town that have the burial sites of soldiers from the Revolutionary War and other battles as well. I had found that my 6th, 5th, and 4th great-grandfathers, Thomas Stevens Sr. and Stevens Jr. respectively, had all responded to what they called the Lexington Alarm, which was the Battle of Concord and Lexington. It was also the first shot of the Revolutionary War happened at Lexington. Extremely proud to be a part of this town, the fabric of this town, and it's just, I want everybody to know what we have here and to appreciate it, and it's really a great thing that we have, and I thank you for that.